Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mind. Today we're joined by head women's basketball coach Kira Carter. And Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, enjoying the summertime.
Yeah.
A little bit less stressful, but always something to do.
Yeah, you guys are coming off a 15-12 season, 10-10 in the GLVC. Before we break down the entire season, just tell me your thoughts on the entire season as a whole.
I think overall it was really good. Big progress for our program for sure. We graduated 7 players, so having their leadership and just that experience, they've been with us for a long time, and they really established a culture, so I think that helped a ton. I do think, we accomplished a ton. I do think there's more out there. I think there's a couple of games we wish we could have won more.
Yeah.
But certainly, great for our program, and looking forward to continuing to build off of that.
Yeah, you guys started the season really hot this year. 9 wins in your first 11 games. 9-2 is the best record since 2011-12. Talk to me about that beginning of the season, how you guys were feeling.
It was good. We play some of those teams like NAI and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think, people can argue about how you schedule, but I think sometimes those games are important to build confidence, build momentum. It all depends on where you're at in your program and how you schedule. But obviously we had a couple of D2 games, and, the Emporia State game was big for us.
Yeah.
That's an old MIAA foe.
Yeah.
So we haven't played them in a while, and they've got a good history to their program. To perform well against them, it kind of gave us a little bit of confidence. I think the biggest thing is just proving to ourselves that we are able to compete. We lost down at Missouri Southern, but I thought we competed well very early in the season. So I think that helped.
And then going into conference play, you guys started out December with Lincoln, Upper Iowa, and Quincy all at home. Just talk to me about that stretch and how your girls were feeling in that stretch.
There's some close games in there.
Yeah.
The Upper Iowa game was a close one, down to the wire, come from behind game.
Yeah.
I think sometimes having those home games is nice, and we do a good job here. Just our student athletes come to support, and our community support has been growing over this course of the season. So I think that helps. And again, it's all about building momentum. And it's funny because momentum is such an intangible, but I think it is something that makes a difference. It helps you build that belief, build that confidence. Figure out your team chemistry and things of that nature.
Yeah. Continuing with that 9-2 start, you guys go into January, restart the conference play. First game at Truman, a Chorus Davis last-second layup down to the wire, 1 second left. Talk to me about how you're feeling in that game, and it just really came down to the wire in that match.
I think it's always fun to compete against Truman State. As you know, I'm sure you're going to get to. We had 2 really close matchups with them. Playing against Coach Theo Dean over there, he's good. He's good with strategy. He's good with knowing the scouting report, making in-game adjustments. So, I always feel like I'm playing chess against him when we match up.
Yeah.
But, you mentioned Chorus Davis's shot at the end, and she was one example of our upperclassmen just really stepping up at different times of the game and even the season. Addison Kent hits a huge 3 to help us to get in that position. Caitlin Roberts made a big play down that stretch. And then, you have Franny throwing that pass and, helping grab the rebound to advance the ball at the court so that Chorus touches the ball and, gets it right there in stride. I think that game was a great symbol of just kind of our season and everything that senior class has kind of built up. And to help us to have success this year.
Yeah, and then you guys come back home that next week. You play Drury, a 23-game losing streak against Drury, and you guys take them down 63-57. I remember your girls being very emotional after that game. Just talk to me about that.
I think that might be one of the best feelings. I felt it personally, but I think why I had so much pride and joy in that moment is just what it means for our program, what it means for those girls. We've got a lot of girls on our team that grew up in the state of Missouri, so they're well aware of, who Drury is, kind of the lore, if you will, around Drury and Drury women's basketball. And we say that with all respect, they're a great program. They've had sustained success over many, many years. So to win that game and win in our home gym and, have our administrators there, have our fans there, have our other student athletes there, I think it meant a lot to us, to our program. And I'm excited for our girls to experience that moment.
Yeah, definitely. After that Drury game, maybe a little bit of a rough stretch for your girls. You guys win again at William Jewell and at McHenry. Just a tough road trip. You guys had some reschedules in there as well. Just talk to me about that stretch that you guys went through. Yeah,
that was tough. There was a snowstorm during that period. And, I think that's great, though. It's great for what our job is as a coach and developing student athletes as they go on into the world and things like that. During that week, what you don't see on the court is we've got practices rescheduled. We're carpooling to get to the gym because girls live on icy hills, and their cars are covered in snow.
Right.
And like that in itself, just to get to practice was a team effort.
Yeah.
And then to have practice at a weird time, and now their classes are online. And now we're going to go travel and play this game, or this one's rescheduled. So now we're going to come back, and being mentally focused for that. It is challenging, but I think it's really good as you talk about developing the resilience of our young women as student athletes and as people. And it helps in the course of the season as well. But I think, those are small things, but I think if you lean into them, you can really focus on like, this is what we're doing. This is what coaching is about. It's about developing our young people. And, just how they responded to those things is great. And like, they lean into each other, they help each other. They're developing that, persistence for life and resilience in life.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of that just as a character development there. And then the basketball part, I think winning at McKendree, that was another big game for us, an exciting game for us. That's a tough game. It's a tough place to play. They usually have good fans there. And I feel like we usually have a good matchup against them, and they usually have post players that can kind of match with ours a little bit too. So, overcoming those things and kind of in that section of the season was fun.
Yeah.
There was some adversity in there too. So.
Yeah, and after that, you guys had a tough stretch, Lewis, UND, and Quincy. But then you guys go to Upper Iowa, take down the Peacocks, and you start a 4-game winning streak after that.
That was a pivotal moment, I think at that time too, after that Quincy game, and you're just kind of like frustrated a little bit. And I know there's probably some frustration on the team too with some of our players as well. And, whether it's you want to win or, you want to play more, this and that. So it was a pivotal moment. We kind of did a lot of self-reflection. We did self-reflection as a staff, like what can we be doing better? Should we make different adjustments? And whether it's a style of play, who we play, things of that nature. So I know we had like several different meetings on trying to fix some things, or maybe it's just like, hey, we don't need to like readjust the whole course. A lot of good things have happened to this point, but how do we bounce back so we can finish the season strong? And again, like I'm proud of our resilience, and maybe it's like experiencing some things like an irregular schedule or whatever that helps you to bounce back when things don't go your way. The Upper Iowa game was big again, another game filled of adversity, and what was the comeback was like 15 point,
something
19
like
point.
That. Yeah, right.
Something crazy. Like you don't want to dig yourself that kind of hole, but again, to grit it out on the road, Upper Iowa, they've got a lot of their student athletes at their games, and they like to talk and have an active student body there.
Yeah.
So, it's fun to win in that environment.
Yeah. And then the next week you guys come back home for William Jewell and Truman State. Anna Finley, maybe the weekend of her life, a 30-point game and a 24-point game in those games. One player of the week as well in the GLVC. Just talk to me about that weekend and how close those games were.
Yeah, it's close. Like when you play a team a second time, it's harder. Like, at William Jewell, I felt like we kind of controlled the game. It was fairly close most of the game, and I felt like we controlled the tempo most of the time. But when we played here, I recall them just shooting lights out, just great ball movement, a lot of three-pointers put up there. And we had to battle that one out, and we had to battle it out towards the end. So it's like you can never overlook a team, especially GLVC play. You play them twice usually. And so they're going to come out harder. They know the scout. The deeper you get into the season, the more people have scouted you out. You have to be ready to make adjustments, and the players have to make plays. And so I think, Anna certainly did that weekend. And then Truman State, that game was wild. It was senior night.
Yeah.
We had overtime. One overtime, I think.
Yeah.
It felt like we had like 3 overtimes.
Yeah,
it was intense. It was like just trading possession for possession.
Yeah.
They've got players making big plays. We've got players making big plays. I think Caitlin might have had a big game that day, and everyone just doing all the little things, and it takes the whole team during those moments. We've got great bench energy coming out. We've got people coming in, doing whatever they can in their whatever minutes they're getting.
Yeah.
So all of those things matter in those moments. And I think, again, that's a testament to our seniors who left, like whether they played a lot or didn't play a lot, they're holding down the culture for us. They're keeping that bench energy up. They're encouraging one another. They're supporting each other. So I think, again, another kind of huge role and theme of the season.
Yeah, and then we'll move over to the GLVC tournament. You guys faced Quincy, the 3 seed, who eventually won the tournament. Talk to me about that experience for your girls. I mean, you guys lost by 5. It was a close match against the eventual tournament winners.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I think it makes our returners hungrier and, again, building that confidence to know what we are capable of doing, what we're capable to accomplish. Courtney did a great job there this last year or two, and quick turnaround for that program for sure. So we knew it was going to be a fight, and they beat us pretty good twice early in the season.
Yeah.
So, to get our head space back right, ready to compete. Again, proud of that word resilience, proud of the resilience of our players to come out ready to fight. We put in a couple different strategies that we haven't worked on much in that last kind of week or two of the season getting ready for the tournament. And our girls were able to buy in and execute pretty well to a point where we were able to kind of compete well. We made some defensive adjustments for the most part. It was good to compete. A little bit of a moral victory there, but we certainly want more going forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We'll talk about a couple of your standouts. We'll start with Caitlin Roberts, 12 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, had 62 blocks this season. We'll talk about some of her accolades. Defensive Player of the Year, all GLVC's second team, scored her 1,000th point of her career this year, and she ended up second all-time in career blocks in S&T history. Talk to me about her career here.
It might be a little bit early, but I will not be shocked if in 10 years she's inducted into our Hall of Fame. In my mind, she's a Hall of Fame S&T basketball player. Just to watch her grow and develop over the years has been incredible. And she played behind one of our other great forwards, center players, Alex Kerr.
Yeah.
Another one I think could be a Hall of Famer when the time comes. But, she really took that in stride, and she's at the top. There might be a couple of other players that match her work ethic, but she's right up there. She'd be in here frequently before her morning classes, doing mic and drill, thousands of layups, thousands of hook shots, thousands.
Yeah.
And so when she makes a game winner where she makes a play down the stretch, it's not an accident. Or if the one against Upper Iowa, she's falling away, and it's she's practiced those shots and she's earned those moments. I want to give credit to Coach Van, too, who's done a really good job to develop our post players. And they spend a lot of time together watching film, working on her game. And she put in that effort for sure as well. So, she's been a pivotal piece of just my time here.
Yeah.
She really maximized her career, I think. So, we're going to miss her for sure. But, I'm lucky to have coached her and, excited to see what she does in her career.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to Anna Finley. I've said throughout most of the year that if there was a Comeback Player of the Year award in the GLVC, she would earn that 100%. She averaged 13 points this year, 42% from the field, 48 three-pointers made. Just talk about her, work ethic that you mentioned with Caitlin, but also what she gave for your team this year.
I think that's the other one that comes to mind when you talk about top work ethics.
Yeah.
Anna's put in so many hours in the gym, and, last year she wasn't on the court. But she was in the gym every step of the way through her injury rehab. Whether she was only allowed to form shoot, she was in a form shoot. Or if she could do stationary ball handling, she was doing that. Whatever she was allowed to do, she did it. And then she's also put in a ton of time in the weight room and with our training staff just to keep her body up and things of that nature. When you're coming back off an injury, it's you're integrating your whole body back into playing.
Yeah.
So managing little tweaks here and there and spending that time in the training room is just as important. And I know she spends a lot of time with her nutrition, her recovery. So her performance this year, I'm just glad that she was able to have the season that she's worked for.
Yeah.
Because she's definitely put in the work. She's another one, gets in the film room a ton, watching a lot of film. She might watch a game and I'm getting a text message or getting a clip should I have done this in this play or how should this have gone? And it's her work ethic. And she provides leadership for us as well, through her work ethic. And, she's encouraging to her teammates and things of that nature as well. So, everything that you saw on the court, it's been earned off the court and, behind, when the lights are off. So.
We'll talk about Nora Gum as well. Over 10 points a game this season, over 6 rebounds a game. She had a great sophomore season for your team. Talk to me about her season, what you're looking forward to next year. I'm
excited to see her continue to grow. I think you could argue that she could have been a third-team All-GLVC player. You start looking at some of those other players on the team, and, congratulations to them, of course. But I think that ignites a little bit of a fire there, and I think she's going to go earn that status this year. And I think just from freshman to sophomore year, just seeing the growth there and working on the defensive side of the ball and continue to upkeep her offensive game and get a little bit more versatility. Her pull-up jump shot was looking pretty nice this year. Very strong getting to the rim, of course.
Yeah.
And then, seeing her, shoot a respectable amount from the three-point percentage where you have to at least come out there and guard her a little bit. It makes it a tough matchup. She's got a high level of athleticism for sure. But she's been working on her game and just trying to continue to get better each year. I'm excited to see what her growth is going to be this year. As you know, she's going to go play with Coach Bailey from Drury on that U.S. team, the D2 team.
Yeah.
So here at the end of July. So I'm excited for her to get the opportunity to play with some other solid players from the area.
Yeah.
Go play against international competition and, just have that opportunity to kind of work and grow her game even further and see what she comes back to us with.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk about the team just a little bit. Your team this year ranked third in points allowed per game at 61.3. And we talked about this earlier, first in opponent free field goal percentage, I should say, at 36%. Just talk to me about the defense your team provided this season.
Again, going to give a lot of credit to Coach Van. That's his side of the ball that he really emphasizes a lot. And, he's done a good job of just holding our team accountable for the details and making sure we're drilling the right things in practice. But, I think that's a testament to our team as well. Our team is coachable. They work hard together. A lot of our defensive principle is not about being the most athletic or the best defender out there, but it's about, using your mind, turning people to certain angles, having help at the right time, buying into scouting report, really focusing on those things. And I think that's the side of the ball where we're able to use our intellectual strength as a S&T, as science and tech school. And that's where we're able to translate, our girls' academics onto the court as they buy into the scouting report. And you're not a strong student without a good work ethic.
Right.
And so I think that's where all of those things can kind of come together on the defensive side of the ball for us. And just kind of that toughness. And it's we obviously didn't shoot the best at all times. We had moments where certain players or certain positions were kind of on shooting lulls and things of that nature. And our defense was able to keep us in games and help us to win games. So I think that's, I love offense, but at the end of the day, defense is one of the most important factors, and it can really carry you through when other things aren't going well for your team.
And you talk about some of the crazy comebacks this year. That all starts with the defensive side of the ball, right?
Absolutely. And if you look at our statistics too, the analytics of it, some of our best offense comes from transition or comes from kind of our dribble drive motion, which comes after a stop, and then the other team's defense now is not fully set up, and we're able to kind of move and get some better flow. And that translates to our offense as well. It gives us energy. It gives us momentum, that momentum word again. So absolutely, I think that's a part where you can kind of dig deep, and it flusters other teams when you can just be tough about it. They get discouraged, their energy goes down, and that's how you can kind of change the tides for our team.
Yeah. Talk about your incoming class coming in. I believe 7 coming in, 3 transfers coming in. Talk to me about what you're excited about with them.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year for sure. This is going to be one of our biggest classes. We've not hit the transfer portal like we have this year. And it's unique for our school. I think more times than not, we've had some success with bringing kids in from high school and kind of developing them up. And they fit with the academic side. So sometimes it's kind of hard to get players out of the portal that fit in that way. But the 3 that we got, they fit great for us. 2 of them are engineering majors. One of them's a pre-med major. And I think they fit who we want to be as a basketball team, and they fit with the other players we have on our team, personality-wise, team chemistry. And then the freshmen that we're bringing in, more of the same. And I think we're going to have some talent there, but it's going to be a lot. We got 7 returners, 7 newbies. But I think our returners are awesome in the way of leadership, team bonding, team chemistry. And I know they've already been reaching out to our newcomers, trying to pull them in, make them feel welcome. So I expect that to continue as the summer ends and as our girls come to campus. So it might be a little bit chaotic to put together, but I think there's a lot of promise, at least on paper. On paper, things kind of look good, but we're going to have to put in our work in the gym. We're going to have to do a lot of team bonding stuff just to make sure everyone gets on the same page and, feels good and feels cohesive together.
And it's 7 newcomers, so a lot of them are going to have to play right away too, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope, is that, every position is open. So, like, I hope that our returners have been putting in their work and are hungry to fight for positions. I hope the newcomers are ready as well. And I hope that whatever happens after that, as roles get defined, that we still stay cohesive and ready to step up when your number is called, when your time is called. And, that's largely on myself and Coach Van to kind of build that culture and continue to have that cohesiveness and that sense of togetherness, But, we're certainly going to need – everyone needs to be ready, because you don't know what's going to happen. And as you know, the basketball season is a long season. Just because you start out one way doesn't mean you're going to finish that same way with player personnel and things of that nature.
Yeah. And talk to me about your schedule next year. Not out yet, but you're kind of putting it together now. Conference schedule will stay the same, but it'll obviously flip.
Yeah, we're still working on a couple things. We did get in a preseason crossover, so that's exciting. Last year's kind of tough. Sometimes it's tough with our region to match that up, and our region is not like geographically great, for scheduling games. Like, you're talking about 7-hour bus ride, this
Michigan,
and that. Yeah, so that can be tough. But luckily we were able to get something with Kentucky Wesleyan, so we're going to play them, Thomas More, and then Lincoln's going to go over with us for that. We've got our return game with Emporia State, so that'll be a challenging one. And then we're working on a couple of other, like, guarantee games, and then working on kind of our preseason scrimmages and things like that. So those are those couple of things we're trying to fill in, but we're trying to get a balance of good Division II competitiveness and then some things that are going to help us, as we have such a new team, to build our confidence and make sure we're firing on all cylinders.
Last question I have for you. You're obviously a big Indiana fan. Had to be the time of your life this last couple of years. Just talk to me about the experience you have on the WNBA side and the NBA side. Yeah,
being in Indianapolis right now and being a fan of Indiana sports has been huge. You got the Caitlin Clark effect and everything. And, the team this year, I think right now they might be having a little bit of turbulence, but I think it's been excited to see the game grow in Indianapolis and just be a part of that fan base for sure. I think Caitlin Clark she's a great player, and the impact she's made on the game is huge. And seeing other players come up, you got, Paige Beckers, and I know there's controversy around Angel Reese, but at the end of the day, she's a pro and she's doing a good job overall for the game. Asia Wilson, there's so many good players in the league right now, and there's more coming up through college that are going to go and continue to grow the game. And then my Pacers, the last time they were in the championship, I wore at Coastal Carolina, I wore number 31 because of Reggie Miller, so that's my favorite player. We were sad by the outcome the other night, and Tyrese Halliburton hurting his Achilles in the game. And, some people are going to say, what if this and that? But I do think staying healthy through a whole season is a testament. So shout out to OKC for being able to be healthy. And, part of that is their youthfulness and having the poise to finish through. But, just me and my family, like the last 2 months especially, been so fun. Like, we've been watching the games. Our family group chat's going crazy. And just, the magic of sports that brings families and communities together. So it's been, on a deeper level, it's been tremendous, and it's been really exciting. So, the mid-market cities are really happy. Maybe the other NBA fans didn't like it, but, just our city's had a great time with it. So definitely. It's been awesome.
Well, Coach, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you.